Good day to you. This is Dr. Dickerson. I'll try to create a video here that is instructive and gives you a sense of who I am. And of course, I look well educated here in my mortarboard. Hope that this tassel's on the correct side for having graduated with my PhD in Caribbean literature. Believe that. Anyway, welcome to English 190 online version. Of course, I'm a little more comfortable with the written form, as you might imagine. The typing, it may seem formal, but this is a way to give you a face and personality, if you will, in my home office here, where I often work on the courses. I've got several online courses this semester. You're mainly concerned with English 190, or maybe exclusively concerned with that for the purposes of our course. And I just wanted to, if I can succeed in saving this video and putting it to the correct place, you can actually get some benefit from it. Let me know how this mortarboard looks. It's a little big for me. It may fall off here. Okay, there we go. That looks a little more like it. So the idea here is that we are engaging in literature, initially the short story, of course, and you're trying to offer your interpretive readings of the works, but you are informing that with, or those readings with your learning from our text, which of course is Perrine's literature. As you know by now, the one text for the course, and it is somewhat expensive, but you can also get that by way of Amazon, or you can rent it perhaps if it's too much. It is a strong book, though. It is a really good text in that the authors Johnson and Arp, who are following Perrine's example and honoring Perrine with the title, are quite knowledgeable about literature and giving us some good instruction there. And I'll certainly use my own expertise to supplement theirs. But if you read as much of the text as you can, the framework for the stories, the introductory materials, and respond to the questions, you'll have a good, it'll be a good course for you. You'll be strong in learning about literature and succeeding. And this is more like, you may not get to all of the readings. There's so much, particularly the whole anthology is something. And I can take these off if you like. I can actually, there you go. See, I can actually see you there. A little blurry. No, this is for reading. But in any case, you can see it as a lifelong learning list, because you want to be able to carry on and continue the love of literature beyond this course well into your life. So if you don't get to a particular story, at least you've been introduced to the work, and you carry on. A little bit of water helps on the voice here. So Dr. Dickerson is my name. I think I'll put these back on again. I can see you a little bit better. Welcome to the course. Our initial readings in the short story, as you know, are Hunters in the Snow by Tobias Wolff, Everyday Use by Alice Walker, Sonny's Blues by James Baldwin. That's a lot to take into consideration for the first week, particularly as you're reading the instructional, what we call the apparatus, I guess, the instructional discussions that the authors provide us regarding plot and characterization and such. Remember, the elements of fiction include, of course, character is primarily critical, because we are interested in people and what they do in stories. Plot we see as the basic trajectory of a story, the way in which it proceeds, the events that are organized to produce a story. What else have we got there? Certainly setting is important. If you think about a story like Hunters in the Snow, well, it's pretty obvious with the title, but I think I draw from the authors to point out that it's a very spare setting, one in which human beings might be seen as subject of an experiment in a sense. The characters Tub, Frank, and the other fellow. Let me draw from the authors, Arp and Johnson, just to borrow a few ideas from them. But it strikes me the authors are interested, those authors are interested in how Tobias Wolff presents the conflicts among the three individuals. And that makes for a story, because it seems to be, if we look to another element of fiction theme in some sense, the story is about individuals sort of selfishly engaged in their own perspectives and needs and psychological flaws. And that's a kind of a grim statement about human creatures. So see what you think about that. Here's what the editors say, and I'm just borrowing from a little instructional manual here. I don't mind using some of the author's comments. There are no right answers in literature, believe it or not. You as a reader have just as much to say about a story as do the editors of the anthology, which is our text. But we want to learn from others as well, professionals, scholars, and so on, those who have published many works, because we can, right? But remember that your perspective is valid as well, and your reading is quite useful too. I'm more interested in creative misreadings than I am in so-called correct readings of literature, because there are no answers. There are no right answers. We're just interested in questions, really. Questions about human experience and so on. These fellows say, I'm thinking of Arp and Johnson, say that Wolff's story exemplifies the complex art of characterization, portraying the three men in their shifting alliances. And I think that's interesting, the shifting alliances. The way in which Tub is initially he's alienated by the other two. They make fun of him. Recall the first scene in which they drive their truck on the sidewalk toward him as if they're going to run him over. They die laughing, basically, when he's upset by it, and he loses his lunch when he comes out of his pocket and such, and then they get him in the truck for the ride. But it's a very interesting story, because this is an old beat-up truck, and it's been vandalized by somebody. It's got a broken window, so it's freezing inside the cab. This world that Tobias Wolff is offering us is kind of a grim reality, very wintry. There's not much to admire by human beings in this world. But I think that's what's interesting about short stories. They do give us a portrait of ourselves in some respects. Maybe not so flattering, but certainly illuminating. And there's some things we can learn from these sympathies we have for Tub. But working class men are depicted here. I'm drawing from the notes again. They commend Wolff for his use of detail. Look for detail in stories, like what images, what concrete details that show you. One thing I can remember, for example, when got to get the names right. There's Frank. Is it Kenny? I believe it's Kenny. Who remember, he seems frustrated, and he has the rifle. They've not been able to get anything in their hunting expedition. And they've been to the house to ask for permission to hunt, been granted permission, but what we don't know initially is that Kenny seems to have been given permission to shoot the old dog, which is very amazing, because the others don't know that. Frank doesn't know that. Tub certainly doesn't know that. And that's perhaps why Tub, when he sees that other character, Kenny, shoot the dog and kill the dog, he is so shocked, as are we, that he shoots Kenny, shoots him in the stomach, I guess, midsection there, because he's afraid that Kenny's going to shoot him. Because Kenny says, I hate that post, he shoots the post. I hate that dog, he shoots the dog. He says, I hate you, to Tub, and then Tub shoots him. So, one thing about short stories is they tend to surprise us. Otherwise, it wouldn't be interesting. There's conflict, there's tension, there is surprise. That's something to keep in mind. Short stories tend to end in a way that is inevitable, in that they're satisfactorily concluded, but they also surprise us. Otherwise, they wouldn't be worth reading much, I don't think. So the surprise there is that Tubbs shoots him, and that certainly surprises him and us. What am I getting at? I guess I'm getting back to the detail. What happens? The blood that we see on the snow, Woolf describes it, or the narrator, should we say, describes it. And by the way, the author is different from the narrator, most often. We do not want to conflate author with narrator. It's a mistake. The author creates a voice which tells us a story. It might be a point of view through one of the characters. It might be omniscient, someone outside the story who knows everything, so to speak, can go into the heads of all characters. Or, more likely, it might be a limited omniscient point of view in which the author creates a narrator voice that goes into the head of one character and can feel that character's emotions and so on. Point of view is very complicated. We'll go into the basic points of view as we study point of view in one of our chapters. But for now, it seems that this point of view, this narrator, can visit, well, how would you call him? I guess it's objective. He's not really in the head. It's third person. So he's referring to the characters, Tubb, Frank, and Kenny. He doesn't say I. He doesn't say I am Tubb, this is what I feel. But I'm getting back to the moment of detail. The blood on the snow is described as blue. That, for me, is vivid detail, which puts you there in the story. It's extraordinary. It is the kind of way in which stories are told, through imagery, that puts you in the scene and thereby makes you share the experience. And that's effective short story writing. So that's what detail. Okay. These authors refer to James Hanna, a critic, who says that this environment is a hostile one. Working class men struggling. They don't have much money. They're probably getting the deer for meat. They all have problems. Frank seems to be a pedophile of sorts. I mean, to put it bluntly, he is seeing a young woman that he shouldn't be. It's outside of his marriage, of course. And moreover, she is underage. So each character seems to have some kind of flaw, to say the least. And these Arp and Johnson say there's an undercurrent of malice. There is this sort of, not evil, but strange, disturbing tone and atmosphere in this story we get. So, a deserted landscape, so one in which the figures are seen as brutish because they are struggling. And I would also argue that they kind of work at cross purposes because they don't help each other out. They do and they don't. I mean, look at the scene in which Frank, when he is trying to defend his own, what do you call it, transgression of being a pedophile. It's not at all something to joke about or be admirable of, but he recognizes in Tubb the tendency to be a glutton. So what does he do? He takes him to a pancake house while there's the bleeding and dying Kenny in the back of the truck. Takes him to a pancake house, sits down to get warm, and I guess buys him pancakes and watches him eat and says, dig in, tuck in, enjoy yourself. This is not how characters help each other. It's how they indulge in each other's flaws, or what's the word I'm looking for? I guess they are. So, another image in which we can see this kind of thing is when Woolf, the author, has Frank leaning up against a tree with his hand, his kind of big hand up there against the tree, and on his little finger is a ring that says F in diamonds. That's characterization. That image speaks volumes about who Frank is as an egotistical, vain, kind of person. So, these characters are not admirable at all. We might have this, Tub may have our sympathies, but he's also pathetic, He admits that he eats out of compulsion. He's overweight and so on. So this is not a pretty story, but it's not meant to be. In any case, there's a lot more to the instructions, rather the comments from the authors. But they do underscore the point that there seems to no charity, no love or beauty in this story. It's kind of a thematic bleakness, they say. I'm quoting from them now here. Particularly when, they get that pathetic character Kenny, who seems to be a bit of a jerk, I suppose. But then he's shot, so he's in danger, and they don't take him to the hospital. They claim they're going to, and they tell him to say, "I am going to the hospital." So it's a sort of mantra that he's uttering in the back of that truck, but he's clearly freezing to death. I mean, the blanket keeps blowing off, and it's a bit of a joke that they put it back on him because they know it's going to blow off. So it's pathetic. It seems futile. It seems futile. The world seems futile in a way. Our desires are kind of, cross purposes. And the narrator, the omniscient narrator, who's objective narrator, omniscient, in the end says that even though Kenny says, "I am going to the hospital," we know, the narrator points out that it's not true. They've taken a wrong turn, perhaps intentionally. Is Frank out to kill his friend Kenny? Maybe. We don't know. He certainly doesn't seem to be concerned with him much. These characters are indulging their own weaknesses in a pretty horrible way. But it makes it a wonderful story, nevertheless, because it is powerful and strange and interesting. So those are some points I wanted to make. This video is getting a little longish, so I think I would just say in the end to have you do your own work. I've been drawing from sources here, of course, and I was going to draw from another one regarding Sonny's Blues, a book, little pamphlet that I wrote, actually. I had some work in this years ago, but just to show you Sonny's Blues, my comments. I'll post some of these quotations regarding Sonny's Blues, but I would go back to saying, do your own work. Just to say, do not plagiarize. So if you have confusion about a story, ask questions, pose questions in the discussion board. Certainly, express that concern, but do not look for answers anywhere like Google or Wikipedia or something that's absurd. I mean, you want to use sources that are scholarly and reliable. Once you have determined your own point of view about a story, and then turn to some scholars if you want to supplement that comprehension and appreciation you have for a story. So just do your own work. You'll be nailed for it if you don't. I mean, I can easily recognize when you're taking from something else. I'll just do advanced Google, boom, and I catch you there, and I'll give an F to the work and so on, and I'll ask you to do it again. So this first week we can perhaps exercise a little bit of generosity and say, you may commit some unintentional plagiarism when you're lost, but this is about learning. This is about representing yourself in the course and not trying to find something out there that you think is right. All right, so I haven't said much, but I'd like to welcome you and to say, expand on your answers, and no answers really. There are no answers, but expand on your responses so that we have quotations from the text if you need to. Also, separate the paragraphs a little bit, maybe with bullets, but complete sentences so that we can read your discussion posts without much difficulty. There's nothing more daunting than looking at a huge block of prose and text, and I'm guilty of that as well. I put a lot of writing out there, but try to make it visually, what's the word, easy, I guess, easy on the eye. But complete sentences are critical because we want to endeavor to write coherently so we can get a sense of what people are saying using standard English and so on. I think those are my main concerns for now, and welcome to the course again. And I may not use many videos. We'll see how this works, but I will shut it down now, and I hope that you are able to enjoy the stories for the first week. And we're referring to, of course, Hunters in the Snow by Tobias Wolff, Everyday Use by Alice Walker, and Sonny's Blues by James Baldwin. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Oh, The Destructors by Graham Greene. And vis-a-vis The Destructors, let me say that there's a film called Hope and Glory about the British Blitz experience that children were a part of in London. That I recommend for extra credit. I'll post it on this week's later on. I know it's a lot of work, but if you can get a chance to glance at that film, take a look at some scenes, you will see what The Destructors is all about. A very powerful depiction of these young boys and children in London immediately after the bombing, the German bombing, the World War II Blitz of London, and what that world is like. All right, I think that's enough for the moment, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Enjoy the literature. Dr. D signing off. Thank you.